Hey everyone, this is Carlos Casados with Hypnotherapy Breakthrough, and thanks for watching. Um, I'm going to continue on the path of talking about the tools for developing emotional resilience. As I said before, there are many tools and many important things that you need to know about it, but these videos are designed to be kind of standalone and stand together. You know, each piece is something you can use and get something from, but also if you learn them and use them together, they will kind of form a better set of strategies that will help you to be more resilient. And of course, resilience is that ability to bounce back from negative emotions, right? So the more resilient you are, the more you can get through life without having yourself get stuck. You know, just stuck in bad feelings and being unproductive, and you know, like I said, not bouncing back from back into action, right? Back into the game. So today I'm going to talk about specifically a piece that's really important that a lot of people have trouble with. It's not that hard, really. You just need to practice it. But it's that ability to shift your perceptual position. So your perceptual position is like it's kind of like first person, second person, third person. You know, these are like the voices that we talk about in the English language. Um, so just imagine yourself um, in the first person. It means that you're seeing out from your eyes. Your perspective is as if you're in your body looking out. Okay, so you wouldn't really see your face unless you were looking in a mirror, but you might see like a vague shape of your nose as you look out. You might see your hands, of course, in front of you, that kind of thing. So that's first person point of view. And of course, second person would be, you know, like you're in another position looking at you. So that's like being in the mirror in a way. If you were to adopt another person's point of view, seeing you, now you're seeing what they're seeing, hearing what they're hearing, and feeling what they're feeling. Very different. Um, Now, of course, a lot of this is done in your imagination. Well, all of it's done in your imagination. Um, and yet, there is a qualitative difference to the kinds of thoughts and experiences that you have access to when you're doing this. And I would highly recommend um, that you practice each of these different positions I'm going to talk about regularly. You know, just take a moment and actually do it. Thinking about it and understanding about it isn't enough. You have to actually practice the skill of entering in and out of these different vantage points in order to get the benefit. Okay, and the benefit is that you can resolve your conflicts better with people. You can understand where people are coming from more. You can sometimes get a better sense of perspective on yourself. So you might be able to see that maybe that feeling is uncalled for, unnecessary. Um, you might be able to access resources in a different way. You might feel even safer or more protected from feeling the emotions of things. Or you may be granted the opportunity to feel your emotions more, which can be a good thing too. So there's a lot of benefits from this, and a lot of the other skills that we use in hypnosis and NLP require the ability to, you know, adjust our perceptual position to match whatever we need. Um, so I mentioned the first position, I mentioned the second position. A third position is kind of like you're a fly on the wall, or you're a third party watching the whole thing, and it's a very very neutral place to be in. This is the kind of place where if you were watching yourself, you could see um, both parties maybe in a interaction, and you wouldn't feel drawn to one more than the other. So it's important that when you do the third position, that you kind of feel very neutral, like you're just uh, I don't know. I like to use the metaphor of an alien social worker. An alien social worker wants to understand about human emotions, and it wants to see interactions between people, and it doesn't have much of an opinion. It's just observing the facts. It's wanting to take down notes, and so it's very much the observer position. And uh, when you can honestly say to yourself that you're not siding with you or that other person, it doesn't feel like you want either one of them to be right. That you're just observing what's happening. then you're in a good place to take advantage of that position, because there are benefits to each position. The first position is, where you're fully associated. You're looking out from your own eyes, and you're seeing, hearing, and feeling what you're feeling and hearing and seeing. Um, this is a position where you can re-experience something. So if you had a really, really traumatic experience, that might be traumatic to re-experience it from this position, right? But if you had a really wonderful, delicious, amazing experience, you do want to be fully associated, and you absolutely want to experience that again. Um, and I guess the third use that I can think of right now, off the top of my head, is that once you've done any kind of change work and you've adjusted how you feel about something, coming back into the fully associated position where you're seeing, hearing, and feeling from your own self, um, can be a good test, a good way of seeing if the remedial work that you did caused a change that allows you to be in your body and experience it without feeling triggered. So it's a good final test sometimes. How do you apply this? What's important to know about this is that you can play, you can experiment, you can use your imagination. And the more vivid you are about it, the more effective it will be. Because you're essentially convincing yourself that this is true for a brief period of time. You know, you're convincing yourself that it's true, that you're in that other person's perspective. Why? Maybe because you need to feel inspired to have a better, deeper, broader understanding of them. And maybe you weren't allowing yourself to fully engage with them before because you were seeing them as, the person you were arguing with. They didn't feel safe to you. And so there was a part of you that just kind of held back and didn't want to relate. You didn't want to empathize. You didn't want to feel compassion for their position. Uh, so practicing entering into their model of the world and kind of feeling it from their position could maybe loosen the edges of where you're holding on and allow you to be more permeable, allow you to consider new things, new options, new ways of looking at it. Maybe you'll understand that where they were coming from wasn't so unjustified as you thought. And so therefore it changes how you feel about it at the end. A lot of people I do this kind of work with will come away from perceptual position work with a new understanding and a sense of a sense of feeling not triggered anymore by that other person. Like the argument doesn't feel like an argument to them anymore. They realize, oh, I totally get it now. I understand why that person felt that way. And then there's less combativeness and there's more cooperation and all that. Um, there are advantages also to understanding that if there's a trauma and you want to be able to work with healing the trauma, maybe the first thing that you do isn't to go into full association mode. Maybe the first thing you do is you just dissociate, right? So you imagine that you're looking at it as a movie and it's happening to someone else. So whatever, X traumatic event, if you're wanting to deal with it, wanting to heal and work with it, maybe one of the things to do is to make sure that you can view the event as if you're watching yourself on a movie screen, like you're acting it out. Okay, so there's a layer of distance there. But it's very important that you practice on things that aren't difficult first. So all of these things I'm telling you, you should do with more innocuous, kind of lighter problems, or even things that are not problems at all, just neutral things. Like you went to Disneyland or you went to a movie, okay? You can fully experience the movie as if you're inside your body, or you can watch as if you're seated next to you watching yourself watch a movie, right? These are the kinds of techniques you want to get good at so that when you're dealing with something that's highly emotionally triggering, that you can trust that the skill you've developed of getting in and out of those states, those different perceptual positions, is something you can count on. It's very important, especially if you're dealing with something really sensitive like trauma. Having said that, you may be good at it, you may be practiced at it, but it's just not dissociated enough. Maybe it's so highly triggering that you need to create more distance. distance in the metaphor of how you're looking at it. So you could, for example, imagine that you're looking at it from twice the distance or 4 times the distance, and you're looking at that same event, but it's really small. It's like this little tiny thing. Or you're above it. Like change your position. Maybe you're floating above it and you're looking down. See, each time you change the position that you look at something from, it does change your experience. You can also imagine that there's an aspect of you that's seeing it, and you're watching the aspect of you that's seeing it. So there's a very famous technique in NLP where we're in a movie theater, and that's the metaphor that's being used. So it's like, first you're in a movie theater looking at the event up on a movie screen, and then you float out of that perspective into the movie screen to experience it, and then you float into, say, the projection booth where you're looking through the thick plexiglass window and you can see yourself down there in the seat looking up and seeing yourself on the movie. So this is creating kind of like a double dissociation there. Anyway, I'm mentioning these things so that you can be creative, but be a little organized about it. Think about what are all the possibilities of positions that I could be in. There's first person, second person, third person. There's dissociation and double dissociation. There's also different angles. Like, let's say you're witnessing an event and you want to look down from above, and so you're seeing both the tops of your heads and everything that was going on down there. That's going to feel like a certain type of experience to you. But also being underneath, looking up through the floor and seeing everything from underneath, that might be different. And then being behind one side and being behind the other, and then being up at an angle, and playing with the distances of how far you are. You can even see how close can you get before feeling the emotion. That's a big one, right? Test the water. See how close can you get before you feel triggered, and then back away just a little bit. Go right to that edge where it feels like you can be okay with it. And then after you change positions quite a lot, you may find, after doing this over and over again, maybe 12, maybe even 30 times, right? You're trying different angles, different distances, and you're just all over pretty soon you realize the distance that you could get to the event becomes less. At first, maybe hypothetically, you can be 15 feet away or 30 feet away. After you jump around to these different perceptual positions and different angles, and you keep checking in with yourself, how does this feel different? How does this feel different? How does this feel different in each position? You may come back to check the distance and realize, well, shoot, I can get really close. Now I can get up 5 feet away from it and it still feels okay. So you see what's happening is your brain is getting a little deconditioned. You're generalizing in the experience of being okay at different angles, and your brain's starting to gradually desensitize itself. And there are a number of ways to do this, but I feel like this is an important tool. And even though I'm giving you this brief description, it's giving you a tool that you can play with and learn from. Maybe start a journal and make notes. Start to investigate. Get curious about it. All of these things are best when you have the guidance of someone guiding you through it, of course. But I wanted to give you some tools to play with, things to explore. You don't have to have gone through all the NLP training that I've gone through necessarily to try out some of these tools and get some benefit. God knows right now what's happening in the world, this is a good thing to start to think about how we can be creative and imaginative about dealing with our stuff. So that's all for now. As usual, please feel free to post your questions, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks again for watching the video and subscribing if you've done that. Feel free to share the video if you think anybody would appreciate it. And there'll be more coming soon in the same genre. We're going to keep on the same topic, and we're going to keep drilling into it more and more. Okay? Thanks a lot. Take care.